What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We are reviewing the biggest weekend in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It is Wrestle Kingdom weekend, Wrestle Dynasty weekend, and it was cool this year to have, very fortunately for me too, because I don't have a lot of time, but to have Wrestle Kingdom on a Friday night / Saturday morning, so I didn't have to go to work the next day after staying up to 6 o'clock in the morning watching this. But it was fun. I have mixed feelings on the show. So the show starts off where we've got some good improvements that have been announced. These are things that have been improving in New Japan over the last month. First off, the King of Pro Wrestling Championship is gone. Thank you, Great O'Khan booking team, for getting rid of that. And now the New Japan Ranbo, which had in the past been for 4 guys, and then they go on to wrestle for the King of Pro Wrestling Championship that nobody cared about. Now it's for a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, so it actually matters. It still, however, the Battle Royal was mostly made up of the undercard, mid-card, and the old dads. All the old guys were in this for the most part, with the exception of a few surprises. Josh Barnett was a big surprise. I think he was like the second or third person out there. We had Kenta, who I don't know what's up with Kenta. He just came out of Noah. Him and Kino had this whole thing in Noah, and it looked like, oh, rough Kenta's back. And then he comes to New Japan doing the goofy walk and all that stupid stuff. Still clowning Yoshihashi. But the main point of this is that Hiroki Goto, as I hoped and I am happy to see, he won the Battle Royal. So Hiroki Goto, who they've been subtly telling this story, if you haven't been watching New Japan, Goto has been trying to win for his kids. He had his kids in the audience, and David Finlay being a complete ass to him when Goto was trying to win the global championship. He failed in the G1. He failed in all these times. It looks to me, at least I hope, at least to what it seems like, is that we're leading towards Goto getting a big win, or Goto's going to turn heel. One of the two things has to happen. Either Goto's winning the IWGP Championship in 2025 finally, or he's going to turn heel, and maybe we get Goto-Goon or something. I don't know, but we'll see what they're planning on doing with Hiroki Goto, but clearly they do have some plans for him in the immediate future. The card proper gets started. Less goofiness this year, but we do still have House of Torture matches. I will say the beginning of the show was fine. The ladder match for the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships was a nice new twist on the usual opening match of every Wrestle Kingdom recently, which is the Junior Tag match. Whether it's 2-on-2, a 3-way, a fatal 4-way, whatever it is, elimination match. This year they're using the ladders. Ladder matches are not common in New Japan, although people like Kushida had been in ladder matches before. Kevin Knight had been in Ultimate X before in TNA, which is kind of similar but not the same. It did show, however, that at certain spots in this match, they were more concerned about the spots instead of like the logic of the match. Drilla Maloney, yes, I know War Dogs were my personal pick for Tag Team of the Year in 2024. Drilla almost killed Kushida. Unfortunately, he botched the Drilla killer on the outside through a table that they had propped up on the floor. Because if he had hit the Drilla killer the way he wanted to and then completely missed the table, he would have killed Kushida. Those tables are no joke in Japan. You keep that in mind too. At one point in the time in the match, Kevin Knight climbs all the way up to the top of the ladder. He's positioning this ladder for like a good 10 seconds. And you're like, what is he doing? Just climb the damn ladder. In fact, he's so athletic, he probably literally could just stand in the center of the ring and jump straight forward. He probably could have grabbed the belts, because that's the hops that are on Kevin Knight. But he climbs all the way up the top of the ladder. He's right next to the belts. But he decides, instead of grabbing the belts and then winning the match, he's just going to go do a dive to hit a spot on, I forgot even who he hit a spot on, one of his opponents. And I'm like, why didn't you just grab the belts at the same time? You could have done the spot and grabbed the belts and won the match at the same time. So it's logical flaws like that where you see that the guys aren't thinking. They're just thinking, I got to get my spot in, and not, does this make any sense? That aside, there were some fantastic moments in this match. Robbie Eagles busted himself. He did I think it was a 450 splash onto Clark Connors, I think it was, on the ladder, and hurt himself. Driller got creamed one time by Kushida. I think everybody got wiped out at one point in time in this match. Kosei Fujita, however, he winds up getting the big victory by climbing up the ladder, and he actually pulls down both of the belts. And Kosei Fujita gets his first major singles championship in New Japan. He and Robbie Eagles are now your junior tag team champions, so congratulations to them. Some other highlights on the undercard. It was amazing to see it was the return of the L's. El Phantasmo returned tonight in the TV championship match. It was a fatal four-way. It was originally a triple threat match, but Phantasmo, who has been out with cancer, who beat cancer, congratulations to him. That's a big deal. I know personally that how terrible it can be when people, because I've got a friend right now who's going through it. So yeah, hats off to him. He came back and he's in this match with Iowa and Jeff Cobb and the reigning TV champion, the freaking House of Torture's Ren Narita. Now, Narita wasn't as terrible in this match as he usually is. He did do the stupid pull the ref out before the 3-count spot that people are overusing that now, but this match was decent. It was fun. I'm happy Phantasmo won. Phantasmo has been through so much personally, professionally, his character. He got abandoned by all the Gorillas of Destiny. WWE wanted all of them, but not him. And they took all of them, but not him. So, yeah, that was pretty messed up. It's been a rough time for ELP. He got kicked out of Bullet Club. He never beat David Finlay. It's like on and on and on. Jay White left him. Juice Robinson left him. Nobody wants to talk to him. Nobody is his friend anymore. He's just got Jado. And Jado is all you need sometimes. So ELP with a much needed win for his character, his psyche, and his fan base, as he is now a TV champion. Now, wrestling 15-minute matches, ELP, the TV champion, that could be interesting. I think he can do something very creative with that championship stipulation. More House of Torture. Fortunately, this is the end of it on the night. Evil and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I said if there's a skippable match on this show, it is this one. And it's everything you expected. It's there's all these stipulations put on it. Tanahashi's career, he ended this year instead of next year. Blah 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 blah. You knew he wasn't going to do that. Evil comes out to they give Evil a musical interlude. This has got to be Dick Togo. I don't know what power Dick Togo has or whoever has it on the management. What management thinks this is a good idea. The House of Torture. I don't care how much merch they sell. Somebody brought up a thing on Twitter, or X, and they were like, aren't they the biggest merch sellers? And I was like, yes, and they are also the most skipped over content on New Japan World or House of Torture matches. It's the same thing, and I'm tired, and all this stuff happens. I don't care. I'm not even going to go through it all. You know what happened. Tanahashi didn't lose. He wound up reversing, and everything is Evil into a cradle, got the pin on Evil. House of Torture comes to beat him up. Hontai is no help whatsoever. But the interesting thing that did come out of this match is Katsuyori Shibata, clearly wearing an AEW branded hoodie, actually shows up and runs off the House of Torture. And then he and his old rival, because they were musketeers at one time, like 20 some odd years ago, Shibata challenges Tanahashi to a match the next night at Wrestle Dynasty if Tanahashi's not too tired. And of course, Tanahashi is never too tired. So that's a nice little bonus that we're going to get on Wrestle Dynasty the following night. Then the card really started picking up pace. Then we got into the good matches of the night. We had the Women's Championship, the IWGP Women's Championship. Azumi and Iwatani, they tear it up. They came out, both of the women came out. They did not look happy to be in this show. I'm not sure whether it's the card placement or whatever, but they picked it up when they got into the ring. And the one thing I will say about the Stardom girls, the Joshis, it's like they are built different. They are built different than wrestlers. They are built different than Western female wrestlers. And sometimes it looks like they're built out of rubber because some of the bumps these girls took, some of the way their bodies twisted, but that's Joshi wrestling. This was a great match. It started off a little slow and a little awkward, but Iwatani and there's a long history between these two. Iwatani winds up retaining the IWGP Women's Championship, but there was a lot of made about the fact that they didn't even have this championship on last year's Wrestle Kingdom show, and New Japan does need to do a lot better. If you're going to have a women's championship, they should at least have a match on every single major New Japan show and some sort of angle, for it. But, that's up to them. We'll have to see what happens with that going forward. Then we really get cooking. Match of the night is for both the AEW International and IWGP Never Openweight Championship. Shingo Takagi, the Never Openweight champion versus champion, taking on Konosuke Takeshita from AEW and DDT. Don Callis came to the ring, did not hop on English commentary. Don't blame him. I'm kidding. I'm joking about Walker Stewart. Actually, he's improved a lot over the last year. He's been actually pretty good. And Chris Charlton's an encyclopedia of knowledge. I think sometimes their House of Torture commentary doesn't help the House of Torture commentary with 69 homoerotic dick jokes all the time. But outside of that stuff, they're a good commentary team. But no, we didn't get grace with the insights of Don Callis and commentary. He was strictly here as a manager. And wow. If there's a match you got to see on the night, it is Shingo and Takeshita. It's exactly what we thought it was going to be. Hard-hitting, well thought out, well-paced, well-planned out match, too, by both of these guys. And they had this wonderful shot in the middle of the match where they showed both the championships, and then they pull out, and you see sitting in the background looking like a looming final boss on the level you're on is Tomohiro Ishii, and the whole audience goes, oh, it was a great shot. It was a great shot of him. Because Ishii will be wrestling the winner of this, the double champion on Wrestle Dynasty the next night. So, Konosuke Takeshita pulling out the win. Shingo looked kind of pissed. Shingo's lost way too many matches. Shingo loses too many of these interpromotional matches with AEW. I don't think he's won one. And he lost to John Moxley, he's lost to Danielson, he's lost to Takeshita. He always loses. Shingo needs to win more matches. Shingo is still a viable star, but he's only got but so much longer. He's getting older. He's got couple good runs in him. He's still in decent shape. I don't know why they keep booking him to lose all these matches all the time, but whatever. He's one of the best wrestlers they got. They need to take advantage of that a little bit more. Takeshita going on now to take on Ishii on the next night. So we're cooking now. Now it's looking and feeling like Wrestle Kingdom, man. And we got up next the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match. Much anticipated. Another L. Like I said, it's the return of the L's. El Desperado now back after a lot of problems, a lot of health problems and injuries last year. Despi's back. This is not his arena. He's like the reluctant hero of New Japan. He's been especially during the pandemic era and a couple years ago, he was one of the biggest bright spots in the whole company. He carried New Japan for a couple of months on his back. He comes out. We got a whole kabuki thing. I thought Akira Nogami which is one of the first New Japan wrestlers I ever watched, was Jushin Liger versus Akira Nogami. Some guy comes out in a full-on traditional Oni mask outfit and everything, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And it is Doki, who is all on presentation. It's so funny because Doki was the guy who took the pin for Suzuki-gun matches a couple years ago. He has gone from that and now risen up to a legitimate junior heavyweight star. Absolutely phenomenal. Even the Doki Joki is still in effect. This match gets started. These guys have such a history. They're going to tear the house down. They get into it and tragedy strikes. Doki goes up to the top rope, does a senton from the top of the rope outside the ring onto Despi, who's on the floor at the barricade, and you see it on camera. Doki's left elbow goes down at an awkward angle, and his weight lands on it, and and I think it's a broken arm. And yeah, and Marty Asami, the referee, brilliantly calls the match, because these guys would keep wrestling if they could. They call the match, and the crowd gasps. The internet goes, oh my God, that just sucked. That sucked, man. Doki had all that whole entrance, that whole presentation. This was Doki's big moment. He finally made it to this level, and he gets injured like that, man. And that's terrible. Despi gets on the microphone. He's like, you know what? I really don't even think I earned this championship. I don't want this in this environment anyway. When you come back, we're going to run it back. And, Yeah, that's a tough break. Well, no pun intended for Doki and Despy, but yeah, run it back, and I hope they have him match in this position again in the future next year, because that was really sad. We then picked up the pace though again a little bit later, as now we had the global championship. David Finlay defending against Yota Tsuji. This is one of the matches I'm watching a lot on the show because they have now started hinting in some of these interviews that they've been doing on New Japan World, on the New Japan's YouTube channel. The question is starting to be asked of Finlay about, people aiming from without, people aiming from within. He's like, I know what happens for Bullet Club leaders in the past. I've heard the rumors. a lot of them said by myself here on the YouTube about Gabe Kidd taking over Bullet Club one day. We all know that's where it looks like it's going to happen. However, Phantasma was supposed to take over from Jay White. It looked like Phantasma was going to take it over a couple years from Jay White. They went with Finlay. So Phantasma never got that run, that it looked like he was going to be the obvious heir apparent. I am not quite so sure at this point whether, since they are aware of that's what we're thinking, if they're just going to swerve us and do something else. But time will tell. But right now, if David Finlay loses his match against Yota Tsuji, and they set it up, he set it up himself, there will be some questions asked about his leadership of Bullet Club. I have said that since the G1 last year, Finlay finally grew into his character. I know some people, even when I said this, people scoff but again, I assume these people haven't watched a lot of New Japan and haven't watched a lot of Finlay over the last 6 months. He has grown into his character. Whether you like the character or not is irrelevant. He's grown into what they were booking him to be. And he's a good in-ring performer because this is the second best match on the night. Him and Tsuji they don't have great chemistry, but they have good enough chemistry to make this match awesome. At one point, Finlay hits 3 consecutive dominators on Tsuji, which I'm like, that is some, and Tsuji's not a small dude. That is some core strength that David Finlay, that's just raw core strength. He, like a dominator, 3 in a row. That's harder to do than a powerbomb because, you don't get the full assist from the guy when you're lifting him up. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So I loved it. I loved this match. I thought it was, again, second best match of the night. Finlay laid out his vicious rebel offense, just brutalizing Tsuji for the majority of the early part of the match after they traded back and forth in the beginning. Tsuji finally gets the upper hand, and Tsuji finally does get the win. Becomes now only the fourth, or he's technically he's the fourth champion. He's the third man to hold the championship. He is now the global heavyweight champion, which essentially is a world title, global champion, whatever. Anyway, but he's a secondary champion in New Japan right now. A big win for him, definitely needed. And this is a vehicle I'm hoping that Tsuji can use to launch himself. This can be Tsuji's championship. The way Nakamura, the Intercontinental Championship, Nakamura made it to his. There's a lot of similarities with Tsuji and Nakamura. Not a lot, but there are some similarities with Tsuji and Nakamura as far as where their place is in New Japan. And I think they kind of want him to be the new Nakamura, that new, like, 1B guy in New Japan. So, if this is what they're going to do with him in the Global Championship, I'm all for it. And there's a lot of with Tsuji holding this championship, there's a lot of challengers that he can take on and a lot of great matches he can have. As for David Finlay, he's like, how? He's completely stunned and shocked. Gato, you can already see Gato's scheming already behind the scenes. He's already scheming and planning. I don't know. New Year, David Finlay better watch his back on New Year Dash. You better watch his back too, because he's got Brody King at Wrestle Dynasty the next night, which also means Tsuji's matches. That match is no longer for a championship. So, yeah, keep your eye on the Bullet Club War Dog situation over the next couple of days, maybe even a couple of months. Semi-main event, we have the emotional match between Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi. And this match, usually I would say this was not a really good match because in-ring wise it wasn't. But that's not what this match is about. This is a emotional match between two friends, a mentor and his pupil, a teacher and a student. Naito, and they've told the story many times, Naito pretty much saved Hiromu's job, got him into LIJ. Hiromu's taken off ever since then. They've been like big brother, little brother for the longest time. This is a match they've been trying to do so many times. They tried to do it around the pandemic era. It didn't happen. And now they finally get to do it. And Naito is so banged up. He's so banged up. He just had surgery on his eye. They talked about how he had surgery on his other eye, so the messed up eye wouldn't be so messed up because of the healthy eye. It's like the knees. We all know about his knee issues, his neck issues, his back, all of his issues. Poor Naito has beaten and brutalized himself. Naito is not going to be a New Japan dad. He's not going to be in a New Japan Rambo in 5 years, hobbling to the ring like Honma and Tenzan. Like, Naito knows that his physical health in the future is going to be pretty bleak. And he's trying to do the best he can, and with the time he's got left to be a wrestler, because this is what he wanted to do. I can't fault him for that. Although, at this point in time, I am thinking, because we were 7 years removed from that period of time where he and Tanahashi and Okada and Omega were in their prime, and seeing how banged up Tanahashi is, how banged up Omega is, how banged up Naito is, sometimes you kind of, as a fan, it kind of hurts me, because I would like these guys to have a healthy life. I mean, they got hopefully 50 years after the wrestling career. They got to live another 40, 50 years after the wrestling career is over. And hopefully that, I don't want them to be in pain during that whole time, but it's their life. They can do what they want to do. But I will say this. I'll put it this way. I am grateful and always grateful and respectful. This is why I don't rag on wrestlers like some people do. These guys are shortening their lives, setting themselves up for a very, very uncomfortable and painful senior years in their life. So I'm going to appreciate every bump, everything that they try to do, even when they make mistakes, even when stuff doesn't go right, even when the booking's not there, all that garbage. These guys are doing a lot, and the women as well, are doing a lot. So that's just my soapbox moment for that. But yeah, this match wasn't great. Naito was botching some moves. He can't, his vision is all screwed up. His body's all screwed up. You even see at one point Hiromu's kind of looking at him like, this is not what I envisioned. You can see I'm sure when Hiromu envisioned this match when they were going to do it 5 years ago, it was going to be a match of the year contender in his mind, and he's seeing like, yeah, the time passed, man. You can just see it on Hiromu's face when he's looking at Naito. But Hiromu lost the match, as he probably should have, and Naito goes for the fist bump at the end after winning the match, and he just holds it there because Naito loves to do that, and Hiromu's staggering to his feet, and then he looks up and he's like, and he bows to Naito, which was awesome. And then he does the fist bump. This match, again, it's not for match quality. I'm going to give this a recommended, not because it's a great match, but because of the emotion in the match. And this is a very interesting thing. There's so much talk over here in the West about storytelling and matching, all that garbage that all these nerds to steal Gabe Kidd's line, all these stupid rats and nerds talk about online. The story was inherent. It's very similar to the story from AEW last week with the Continental Classic Finals of Okada and Will Ospreay. It's another, mentor and pupil storyline that they have history. It writes itself. The commentators, the broadcast team can give you that story. You get all you don't need to have 80,000 promos and all special effects to do this kind of stuff. This gets more emotion out of a lot of fans than a lot of other stuff that's got a lot of setup, and it writes itself naturally. Like I said, there isn't only just one way to do wrestling. We are in the melodrama era in the West, but sometimes you got to let the natural stories play themselves out, because they can be better than anything that you can book, and that's what happened here. So hats off to these two guys. I don't know how much longer we get with Naito as a full-time wrestler. He's looking rough, dude. I mean, let's be honest about it. He's not looking good. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to go. And because you got to worry that he's going to hurt himself or somebody else, because he can't see. His depth perception is clearly off. You don't want to be, lifting people and flipping over and doing all this stuff if you have bad depth perception, because you could get hurt permanently or hurt somebody else. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But I worry about that when I watch his matches and I hear about what he's dealing with. So that's that. Main event. Zack Sabre Jr. versus the challenging Shota Umino. Controversy in this match is that Shota comes in with a bad ankle. Half the fans are turning on poor Shota Umino. It's similar to the way they did with Naito, because the Naito Hiromu match drew the house. Let's be honest about it. That was really the main event of the show. This was kind of it's kind of a epilogue. I know, no offense to Zack Sabre Jr. Zach's done a bang up job. I'm happy for Zach. But there does come a booking problem with him being world champion because he's not your typical. He's not what in this modern era people put at the top of your card. He's not the world champion. That's the whole appeal of Zach's title run, though, is that he's not the typical guy you would push as a world champion. He's not the typical. He's not like AJ. He's not like Kenny Omega. He's not like Jay White or any of those guys. He's a technical British wrestler. He's not flying around like Will Ospreay. So can that guy be a main event guy at the biggest show in New Japan? Two guys, too, who've never been in the main event at the Tokyo Dome. I think for the most part, the first 15 minutes of this match I really enjoyed. And then the match just kept going. And I'm like, okay, slap each other again. Okay, forearms again. Okay. And it's like they kind of repeated the same. It's like the match got stuck in a loop. If you anybody who had like an old record player or old CD player, you know how the CD will skip and just go back to the same. That's what like the last 20 minutes of this match felt like. It like the match was skipping. We kept going back and doing the same thing over. It's like we just did this 5 minutes ago, and we're doing it again, and we're doing it again. Shota was getting booed. Chris Charlton's on commentary trying to spin it like, oh, well, there's more cheers for him. Walker, to Walker's credit, Walker was calling Cap on. He's like, no, they're booing him. It's like, no, Chris, they're booing. Yeah, they were booing him. Shota Umino has a real problem. And he even gave one of those Shawn Michaels stink eyes to the crowd a couple times in this match. He was not happy that they were booing him. He was still trying to play the baby face, doing all the stuff, and they would give polite applause and polite clapping for when he would break out of a submission or he would fire up, but then they would boo him again about 2 minutes later. So Zach looked like a boss and a beast in this match. He did what he could with it. I think we did. I was wondering if we were going to get a red shoe spot. This has been the thing ever since Shota came to the main roster. His father is the head referee. This is the biggest show of the year. It's Wrestle Kingdom. Red Shoes is the referee. His son is in the main event going for the world title. Was that going to be a factor in this match? It wasn't. There's one moment where Shota is kicking Zach while he's in the ropes. Red Shoes is trying to get him to break, and Shota pushes his father down. And the crowd oohs and ahs because we've all been waiting for something to happen with the two of them. It doesn't go much further than that. I was wondering if they're going to do a DQ finish. I was also going to wonder when Zach had him in because of the ankle injury. I was thinking this match was probably going to end with there being a decision, which would have been a cool ending. If the crowd's wondering, is Shota going to tap or is his father looking at his son in pain going to stop the match? I thought they were going to go with that. They didn't. They teased it, but they didn't go. That wasn't the finish of the match. Zach does win the match in the end of the day. That went about 43 minutes, which is 23 minutes too long for this match. It's way too long. You don't have the emotional investment from the audience and Shota Umino for this. They don't want to see him win. They don't even want to see him win the championship. And Zach, this is Zach's first time in this spot. He hasn't reached like final boss level as a world champion yet. We're still getting used to him being in this spot. So I don't think it was a great decision for them to put in it. In fact, probably the best thing for this match would have been to be a lot faster pace and not like 15 minutes. And for them just to go balls to the wall, something fast and exciting because we wouldn't have expected it instead of this kind of drawn out thing that they did for 43 minutes. They don't have to be 40-minute matches to be dome main events. It got close to Kota Ibushi and Jay White's record, but we didn't quite get there. After the match, Zach kind of just says, hey, come back tomorrow night and TMDK rules, and that was it. So I had some high hopes for this show. It did look like in the middle of the show that we were going to get, hey, this is going to be a good Wrestle Kingdom this year, and then it kind of fell apart in the end. Doki's injury kind of put a damper on things. Naito not being able to perform the kind of match that he and Hiromu wanted to perform in this spot was kind of a letdown, even though the match was good from an emotional standpoint. And like I said, Zack Sabre Jr. and Shota Umino was just way too long and should have way too long. That I checked out in this match. A lot of people, you saw online, a lot of people were checking out in the match. The positive sides of it, again, Yota Tsuji and David Finlay, second best match of the night. Again, keep an eye on what's going on with the War Dogs. And Tsuji now has got a championship. If he's going to make that title his title, I'm looking forward to seeing that. And the match of the night, definitely Shingo Takagi and Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita becoming a double champion. So we're going to head into the next night, Wrestle Dynasty. I will be doing a review of that tomorrow after it concludes. Much more excited for that. Of course, the biggest match on the weekend that I'm looking forward to, Kenny Omega taking on now the latest not foreign ace, but the latest foreign superstar in New Japan, the current foreign big name in New Japan, a position that he held at one time, but is now held by a completely different wrestler, Gabe Kidd, who is not like Kenny, not like Jay White, not like AJ, not like Finn Balor, not like Will Ospreay, not like any of those guys before him. Gabe is built different for real. And check out the press conference, the interaction between the two of them. This match has got it's a little scary. I gotta admit to you, I'm a little scared about what's gonna happen in this match. But, you got Kenny Omega coming off a diverticulitis surgery, a very life-threatening injury to his gut, and Gabe Kidd, who's a guy who legitimately, a lot of people have gotten injured wrestling him and, legitimately had some mental health issues. So I'm kind of scared. I don't know how much is kayfabe and shoot with this dude, but that's why he's awesome. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to that one, even though I'm terrified of what might happen, especially with what happened with Doki on the night. But I don't know what you guys thought of Wrestle Kingdom 19. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. And until later, I will see you guys here as we continue to review this big weekend for New Japan Pro Wrestling with Wrestle Kingdom 19 and Wrestle Dynasty. Have a good day.